Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, today we're going to take a look at Legendary Encounters, a Predator deck building game from Upper Deck. This is the sequel to last year's Legendary Encounters, an Alien deck building game, and they're both in the same family as Marvel Legendary, the original deck builder from Upper Deck. But while these two games have the same core gameplay rules as Marvel Legendary, they are wildly different in terms of content and also the optional game modes. So in Legendary Encounters, an Alien deck building game, and I swear I'm not going to say that entire name every single time, you took control of the human characters from the 4 primary Alien movies, and you go through these different scenarios. You're doing it mostly cooperatively. There's optional variants to have a traitor in your midst, or someone could potentially die and come back as an alien that hunts the other characters. But for the most part, it was cooperative. Now, the big difference in the Predator deck building game, aside from the fact that you're going through just the 2 primary Predator movies, and that's probably for the best, is the fact that in addition to the normal, quote-unquote, cooperative mode, which is called the Hunted mode in this game, where you take control of all of the human characters from the 2 Predator movies and just try to survive through the scenarios, there is the Hunter mode, which is where you take control of multiple predators. They do take some liberties with the source material, and you're trying to hunt said humans and get the most honor. Victory points, in other words. It is a fully competitive mode with even some other optional bits within just that mode. So there's a lot of content here to unpack. And even. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played. Then we're going to come back and I'll let you know what I think. Alright, I'm going to quickly run you through the 2 different game modes of Legendary Encounters Predator. You have the fully cooperative Hunted mode, which is what we're going to go over first, and the fully competitive Hunter mode, which is where you take control of the Predators and just try to beat everyone else with a different honor score. Now you'll notice that you use the same game mat for both modes, and you can see that some things are named, certain areas on the mat are named different things. So testing ground, operations, traps, locations, gear, objectives. That's because each game mode is going to use different stacks of cards in those spots. Now, the goal of the Hunted mode is for all the players working cooperatively to survive through 3 different objectives, complete those objectives, and then you will win the game. Now, if you want to play through the movies, you can do that. The objectives are set up in a specific way to take you through all the major events of those movies, but you can mix and match them as you see fit, and you can also mix this together with the original Legendary Encounters Alien deck building game and use the objectives from that, however you want to do it. But let me show you some of those particular cards. You also have location cards, so this is for the second movie, The Streets of Los Angeles, but the one I have out here now is for the first movie. You have the Valverdean jungle, and over here it'll illustrate what happens when certain hazards come out. Whenever the first hazard comes out, you'll do what it says for hazard 1. When hazard 2 comes out, you'll do, in this case, it's just the same effect, so hazard 2 and hazard 3 have do the same thing, but that's not always the case with the alien ones, at least. Then you have the different objective cards, and again, these are going to take you through the different major scenes of the movie. The one I have out here now is expendable assets, so all the soldiers get to the jungle. So you have, and the goal here is to find the guerrilla camp and essentially kill it. Then you have other ones that you'll go through. Remember, you always have to pick an objective 1, objective 2, and objective 3. You have flares, frags, and claymores, which is hard to say really fast. You have get to the chopper, because of course you do. You have, for the second movie, you have war zone, personal little war, otherworld life form. They all have their own different goals that you have to meet, including minor goals, which are not going to win you the game necessarily, but at least it's a consolation prize. Each player is going to start with a starting deck of basic cards, like in all the other Legendary games. This is a deck building game, which means that everyone starts off with a weak, inferior deck that you're going to be buying new cards to put into, then eventually reshuffle your deck and have access to those newer, better cards. So you start off with Experience and Brute Strength. Experience is going to give you stars, which are recruitment points. Brute Strength is going to give you combat power, which is going to be used for 2 major things in the game. Over here in the wilds, you're going to have enemy cards that are going to be coming out of this deck, which which is constructed of 3 mini decks, each one corresponding to one of the objectives that you're using, stacked on top of each other, so you'll be going through each of those. Whenever a card, the very first thing you do on your turn is put a card from the enemy deck, called the Prey deck in the Predator mode, but you'll put that card out and you're going to put it face down in Hunter mode. Or, I'm sorry, in Hunted mode. In Hunter mode, they're flipped face up. But anyways, they're always going to come face down. And if the card has not been taken care of, they're going to keep bouncing into one another and getting moved down unless there's a space, in which case it just stays out there. But the point being, they're going to be constantly moving down. Now, what you can do with your combat power is scan these spaces. These spaces have numbers underneath them. It gets less as you go down, as the danger increases, and you're able to use your combat power in order to flip the card over. Some cards have reveal effects when they are revealed, but at least now you know how to deal with it. So in this case, this is a Valverde Gorilla. It has a special ability which happens when it dies, so we don't have to worry about that right now. But it has a combat rating down the bottom. That's the other thing you can spend your combat for, is to take care of these threats. And you want to take care of those threats, because if these threats ever get down into the combat zone, whether it is the Valverde Gorillas or it is the Predators themselves, then you have to deal with them. And when I say deal with them, what I mean is if it survives till the end of your turn, if there's any enemies in the combat zone, each one of them strikes you. And strikes are really, really bad. At that point, you're going to have to draw a random card from this strike deck, and it's going to deal damage to you. And you only can take a certain amount of damage before you die. An example of some of the strike cards that you might fight, eventually. You have the Close Call, which is, okay, nothing bad happens. I'm sure all the cards are like that, right? No, not at all. Then it goes up to Flesh Wound, which is only 1 damage. That you put this underneath your character card. That's not so bad. Then you have Permanent Damage, which is 3 damage, and very, very nice. You remember this scene from the movie. If you ever heal this, you still have to draw another strike to replace it. Sacrifice is 5 damage, which is really, really a lot of damage, but someone else can take that hit for you if they want to. And one of the worst ones, a New Level of Pain. When you die, kill each other player. So you want to get rid of that one as quickly as you can. Fortunately, it is only 1 combat damage. Now, I mentioned character cards that you're going to be sticking your damage underneath. That is because, unlike a lot of other deck-building games, including the other legendary Marvel Legendary game, you have a role card that you're going to, or an avatar, I should say, these are called, that you are going to start off with in play. This tells you your defense, which is only going to be used if you're playing competitively where players can attack you, or if you're playing mixed with alien and the alien can attack you, and so on. You ignore that most of the time. But this is what you really want to pay attention to, your health rating. If you ever take damage that sums up to equal to or greater than that, you are dead. You are just out of the game. There is player elimination in this game. But together with your avatar card, you also get a role card. A role card is a particular card unique to you that the other players don't have in your deck, and they always do something special for you. So, for instance, if you were the tracker, you would have 10 health, and you would have access to the It Ain't No Man card, which says, call for backup. Once this turn, you may scan any space. What call for backup means is that if someone coordinates with you, you are able to use the special ability on this card. I'll get back to what coordinate is in a second. You have the gorilla who has the call for backup ability of getting an extra combat with this card, and notice that these also give combat and recruitment and things like that. Here are cards from the other movie. You have Detective, which is going to give you access to the Knocking on Doors, which says that once this turn you may draw a card. You have the Otherworld Lifeform Agent, which is going to give you access to the Highest Tech, which says that you can scan spaces. Actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. It says once this turn you may change the recruitment for one of your cards to combat or vice versa. So that's just a taste of some of the avatars you could possibly choose. Now, back to Coordinate, because you always can buy, so long as they're still available, Commanders. Commanders are all the same card, except for the action symbol or the class symbol up in the top corner will change, and I'll get back to what that means in a second. But what they do is you can always choose to purchase this for 3 recruitment stars on your turn. It always gives you 2 recruitment if you play it on your turn, but it also has the coordinate ability. When it is not your turn, someone can ask, hey, would someone please coordinate with me? At which point you can say, yes, I will, and play this card. You do not gain the benefit of the card. You just actually put it off to the side or discard it and then draw another card to replace it. But the player whose turn it is gets to take the effect of the card, which in this case is 2 recruitment, and they get to use any abilities that are call for backup. So that's why it's very important for everyone to get coordinate cards and to use them effectively. Now let's talk about the majority of cards which you're going to be buying, which are from the HQ. This deck is going to be made up of 4 characters, and you can choose which characters you want to play. You can go through the movie, or you can do it by mixing them all together from all different movies if you really want to. But essentially, you'll shuffle all these different characters up, make a row. Whenever someone buys a card, it gets immediately replaced. Down here in the bottom corner is how many recruitment you have to spend in order to buy that card. It goes into your discard pile, and so on in typical deck building fashion. Now, just to show you some of the different cards you can expect and what some of the different symbols mean, you have Mac, and now up here you have 2 different types of symbols. Whenever a special ability down in the text refers to these symbols followed by an ability, that means you must play a card that already has the particular symbol and then play that card in order to use it. That'll become more clear in a second. I'll show you an example. But Mac's card here gives you 2 combat, and it has the Brother in Arms ability. The Brother in Arms ability says that once this turn, you may heal a strike from any player, and in order to do this, you have to play another card that is not a Mac card. You have to play another distinct character in order to activate the Brother in Arms ability. Here's his ultimate card, Gonna Have Me Some Fun. For combat, each time you kill an enemy this turn, draw 2 cards, which is amazing. Here you have Blaine, which is a sexual Tyrannosaurus. He gets 2 recruit, and every time you play one of these, if you before you play this card, if you played one of these, I forget, it's like Sonic symbols, Sonic class, whatever it is, once this turn, you may choose a player and heal that strike with there's a strike that they have against them with the least damage. Then, of course, his Ain't Got Time to Bleed card, which says gives you at flip the top 2 cards of the strike deck into the discard pile and gain that much combat strength together with 2 combat strength. You have Dylan, Real Nasty Habit, which has Coordinate for 1 combat. Once this turn, you may avoid any 1 strike if you play it for yourself or if you play it as a Coordinate for someone else. His ultimate card is I Can Get Even. 3 combat, choose a player. All their cards gain Coordinate for this turn. And then, of course, Arnold himself, Dutch. Stick around if he plays one of the mercenary cards or with the soldier cards. Before this, you may kill a card in your hand, and if you're not familiar with deck building games, that can be a good thing because you can get rid of your weak cards in order to make room for stronger cards. If it bleeds, we can kill it, which is an ultimate card. Coordinate, you can't die until the end of your next turn, which is incredible. Then you're going to get into the movie 2 guys, which I'll just quickly do this because we're way over time on this. But you have Lambert. Luck is my specialty, which gives you to recruitment and combat. His ultimate is Bag of Tricks, which lets you get rid of a mark from someone. Whenever you draw a hazard card, it goes in front of someone as a mark, and it can mean bad things for them later. Then you have Danny with his ultimate card, which looks very, very pleasant. You have Keys, his Otherworld Lifeform agent, and he's got a cool one that says that you can use, when you play this ultimate card, you can use recruitment to scan this turn. And then, of course, the hero of the movie, Harrigan. First card, Door swings both ways. If you play a card with this symbol, you can discard any number of cards from your hand, then draw that many cards, which is fantastic. And then I'm going to finish it, which is, once this turn, double your combat strength. So really quick, just to sum up how the turns are going to go, you are going to, at the start of your turn, you're going to be drawing cards from the top of the deck. Then you get to take your turn playing as many cards from your hand as you want. You always draw 6 cards at the start of the game, and then at the end of your turn, you'll redraw, get rid of everything else. Play your cards, buy characters if you can, if you want to. Then use whatever combat you have to scan potentially, or to take care of enemies in either or any nasty cards in the wilds or in the combat zone before they strike you. If they do strike you, you draw cards from the strike deck and hope that they don't kill you. Then you have your discard or cleanup phase, and it goes to the next player. Just to show you a few more of the cards from the deck, because I'm sure you want to see some more of the alien, the predator cards, things like that. Here's an example of one of the hazard cards. Then here are event cards, which are going to refer to the particular objective. And again, these are either nasty or just things that can mess you up based on the particular objective. Let me show you some. I want to show you some predator cards. There's a guerrilla camp objective. There's one at a time. There's a Soviet advisors. These are different threats that you may have to fight. Where's some of the cooler ones just to show you? A World of Hurt. There's him in Predator mode, something in those trees. One Ugly Mother, that is the ultimate, the final enemy card. who has Runner, Double Strike, which means you deal 2 strikes if he attacks you. Runner means he keeps running down the line, pushing cards down into the combat zone. Ongoing, if you would kill this enemy while you are marked, destroy one of your marks instead. So he is just incredibly, brutally difficult, just like in the movie. That is Hunted mode. Let me real quick show you the differences between this and the Hunter mode. So the Hunter mode is a purely competitive mode that plays almost exactly the same as the Hunted mode, but for a few key differences, and of course a completely new set of cards that you're going to use. So in this game mode, players are playing as the Predators, and you're trying to get the most honor by the end of the game. Once you get down through the prey deck that you make instead of the enemy deck, then the game is going to end. It can also end if one of the Predator players dies, or if the ultimate prey has been killed. So just like in the Hunted mode, you have your avatar with, of course, they're Predators now. So just to show you a few of them, you have the Jungle Hunter. They have their hit points down here, and they also have an honor value. You yourself count for having honor, and I believe it is a differing amount of honor depending on which character you play as. I might be wrong about that, sorry. But just like with the normal avatars, you are going to have a special roll card that you're going to use. Although it is worth noting here that your defense value is very important here, because you and the other Predators can potentially kill each other. You can inflict strikes on each other by dueling, which is a special ability some of the cards have that lets you use your combat value in order to fight other Predators. Here's the Jungle Hunter special card, like a chameleon. A lot of these cards have activate. What activate means that you can play the card, get whatever resource bonus it's giving to you, and then before the end of your turn, choose to activate the ability. So this one says either draw a card, or this card becomes every class. It has every class symbol at the top corner. Then you have the Primeval Hunter, who is going to have the activate, either draw a card or restore 1. Now, what restore means is restoring cards that deal honor damage to you. It is possible to take strikes that actually make you lose victory points, essentially. There's still heal as well for healing normal strikes. Then my favorite, the Gunslinger Hunter, because it's just funny to see him like that, which says you get the Weapon Master, which says activate, either draw a card or duel, which means, again, fight another Predator. Well, since the Predators are certainly not going to coordinate with each other, instead of commanders, you have Killer Instinct cards, which you can always have available for purchase, no matter which game you're playing. In this one, you get 2 recruit, and it says activate, kill this card, and then you may kill a card in your discard pile. So this is a way for you to cull cards from your deck, although you do have to cull this one as well. Then, the way that the HQ is going to work, they're actually calling it the Armory. Just like how you put heroes into the main deck for all the players to buy, this time you're mixing up different armory cards, which are going to be mixed up into they're going to be separated into either woodland or urban, and into categories like tech and intel and survival. These are essentially skills and gear that you and the other Predators can use to equip yourselves with instead of characters. So here's woodland intel. You have biomass analysis. If you played a card with one of these symbols, then you can actually look at the top 2 cards of your deck, kill one, put the other one back on top. The ultimate card for Woodland Intel is the Satcom, which lets you duel, and if you activate it, each time you duel a Predator this turn, you get to steal one of their prey trophies. Then you have Woodland Strength, which gives you restore of 2, so you can... by the way, how you restore with numbers is you have to... essentially, it's another type of currency that you can build up, and once you get enough points, you can remove a card of that many points from your strikes. The ultimate card here is Yacha Priority, which says you can duel, and you may use your combat value this turn for both dueling and for fighting prey. You use the same amount of currency for both, essentially. Then you have Woodland Survival, a med kit which lets you heal. The Cloaking Device, which you'll play it and put it on top of your card, and then you get to avoid essentially any negative things until the start of your next turn, then it gets discarded. Then you have Woodland Tech, Plasma Caster, lets you duel, and if you played one of those chip heroes, you get cards, you get +3 combat that can only be used for dueling. And of course, the ultimate card is a self-destruct device. Activate it, kill any prey, then kill yourself. So this is the last resort in order to get the most points possible before you die, because you can still win the game posthumously. The holographic map projector, now we're getting into the urban ones, and I'm just going to kind of race through these, but the ultimate cards like Ship Link, a lot of them have to deal with your weapons, so Wrist Blades and Yacha Essence, which says you can activate and pay any amount of combat to restore that much honor. Net Launcher, of course you have the Smart Disc, which just says there's no reward or resources, it just says activate, Kill a prey with 3 honor or less, which could be a very powerful prey. Shoulder cannon, and of course another last resort card. This one says, again, kill any other predator, not any other prey. Kill any other predator, then kill yourself, which could be like, okay, well, I'm going to die, but I'm taking you with me because you're my number 1 competitor. Instead of an enemy deck, you have a prey deck, and these are always going to be coming face up instead of face down because you're all just hunting and stalking and killing them. They are trying to scan you, not the other way around. Anna is actually worth negative honor, and she's a runner, which means she's going to keep pushing the other cards faster down the row. And she has escape, which says that if she gets to the combat zone, she simply gets discarded. She's never going to strike anyone. Then you have sort of the B-list characters from the first movie, like Poncho, who is worthy prey, meaning that they're worth victory points and count for other certain things, and they have special abilities like whenever he strikes, you draw a trap. Whenever he dies, you draw a trap, which we'll get back to in a minute. You, of course, have Billy. How can we forget him? And then the ultimate prey for the first movie is Dutch, who is Arnold. You get 9. He has 9 combat strength, and when he reveals, you draw a gear and attach it to him, and he is lethal. When Dutch strikes you, if you draw a damage strike, you immediately die. Then you go into the second movie, and you have cards like King Willie and Gold Tooth, and the ultimate prey here is, of course, Harrigan, who has double strike, meaning that if he strikes you, you have to draw 2 strikes, and disarming, which forces all the predators to discard cards from their hand down to 4. Now, mixed up with all of those prey cards, you might find gear up cards. If you draw a gear up card, you have to take the top card off of a special gear deck and attach it to the closest prey. These can be things like Heavy Machine Gun, which increases their combat value by 2. Now, these are also worth honor. If you kill a prey with gear, you get to take the gear into your trophy room, your victory point pile, 4 points as well. Flares, which says that you must use a duel in order to fight this particular prey, just like you would another predator. And Bulletproof Vest says that if you would destroy this prey, instead get rid of the bulletproof vest instead, and now you still have to fight the prey again. You might also find danger cards. Danger cards can be gotten rid of by spending recruitment points instead of combat value if they are in the wilds, but if they ever make it into the strike zone, they are going to force you to draw a trap. And traps can be things like they go in front of you and ongoing. You can either recruit or fight, but not both on your turn. Electric Trap, at the start of your turn, discard a card that costs 1 or more from your hand, and so on. You also have to take strikes in this game, and they function mostly the same except for the dishonor strikes. You have Gotta Hand It to Him, which gives you 3 combat damage, or Short Circuit, which gives you negative honor, and it also has a special effect. When you draw this, you also have to draw a trap. And then finally, optionally, you can do tests and challenges. Tests you'll take a certain amount of tests, mix them up into the armory deck with the other equipment cards you and the other predators can purchase. Whenever one of them comes out, it goes into the testing ground. The first predator to meet the requirements of the card gets to claim the test as honor. So for this one, for instance, says play at least 4 cards, each with a different class in one turn. The test of adaptability, or the test of mercy. Kill a prey without using the starting brute strength cards. Then you have challenges, which each player gets one of secretly at the start of the game. You'll keep it face down in front of you. At the end of the game, you'll reveal it and show whether or not you actually met the challenge. So in this case, it's have the biggest deck at the end of the game. I said deck. It can't be a tie. You'll get 4 victory points. Or opportunism. Have the most mercenaries in your trophy room at the end of the game. And by the way, mercenaries and young bloods are another type of card in the game, which are just more enemies, either more prey or more enemies, depending on the game mode, that you mix into the objective decks or prey decks, depending on the number of players. So that is a probably way too long rundown of everything in Legendary Encounters Predator. Let's get to my final thoughts. All right, well, there's a lot to go over here, but let me just start off by saying that my review of the fully cooperative hunted mode of Predator is mostly going to mirror my review of the original Alien Deck Builder, which was all cooperative unless you played with the Traitor. And that is to say that I enjoy them both greatly. There's not a lot of difference between them. The primary difference is just that there's 2 less movies to play through in the Predator deck building game, which I know you can make the argument, oh, well, I guess that's like 50% less content. Yeah, but you still have a full rounded out game here. There's still a lot of content in just those 2 movies and the different heroes that you can use. There's still a lot of stuff going on, and I never felt like I was short-shrifted on just speaking of the cooperative mode of Predator, even though the original Alien game had more stuff to it, more cards. And if you have both sets, you can easily mix them all together, in which case there's no problem at all. Bets are off. You have tons and tons of content to go through, and they do blend together really, really easily. I haven't played it that way enough to make a full commentary on it, but I've played it once that way, and it was not too difficult at all if you follow the rules in the back of the book. I will go ahead and just knock out the criticism I had of the original Alien deck builder, which I now have for the Predator deck builder, which I had for every other big set that they've released for Legendary, which is to say the card sorting. And I know that this is a nitpicking thing, and I'm kind of used to it by now, and it's still really frustrating. I imagine it is a very high barrier of entry for people who are completely new to this. There are probably a lot of people who bought this and the Alien deck builder new at Gen Con each year because they're like, whoa, I don't know much about modern board games or deck building in general, but Aliens Predator, that's got to be really cool. Let's bust open this game and play it real quick. Oh. I made a joke to someone that it looks like someone, the people at Upper Deck said, hey, let's pre-shuffle the cards for our customers and then throw them all in the air and pick them all back up and put them right back in the box. That's that's what the sorting looks like when you open it up. And it is frustrating. I know it's nitpicky, but I wish, even if it's at, I'd rather pay, honestly, $5 more per game. I know I would anyways, and I'm not a rich guy by any stretch of the imagination. I would pay $5 more to not have to do that, but okay, that's genuinely the only major criticism I have of this or any of the other Legendary games. Other than that, the cooperative mode of this game, going back to that, is incredibly solid. And actually, I'll take another step back and say that just like in the Alien deck builder, the artwork in this game is amazing. It's incredible. I would dare say that this makes the original two Predator movies look way better than they actually were as far as like what they looked like and what the cinematography was. I never want to see Predator in anything other than comic book mode ever again because it looks fantastic. The graphic design is solid. The playmat is excellent. Everything about the appearance of this game is awesome other than the tiny, tiny text at the bottom of the cards telling you what type of card it is and where it belongs, which goes back to the sorting. Other than that, the game looks incredible. And again, if you've played the other Legendary games, you're halfway there as far as figuring out what the icons and everything means. The fully co-op mode is incredibly brutal and deadly and very, very tough, just like the original Alien deck builder. I'd be curious to know what the playtesters' win percentage was. I'm sure it was somewhere in the 30s. Even though they played the game all the time, because that's how difficult this game seems to me and my group, and we're very familiar with the Legendary games and with deck builders in general, but I appreciate the brutality to a degree. I don't want my cooperative games to be easy, and these games thematically are supposed to be really, really difficult, so I appreciated that to a degree, although some people who are new to the game were like, wow, do you ever win this? Speaking of the theme, I do like the theme a lot. It's kind of funny how well these two particular movie franchises lend themselves to the Legendary system and vice versa, as far as like putting the cards face down, having to scan, not knowing what's coming around the corner and having to deal with it, and again, just the brutality of the system, together with the graphic imagery on the straight cards. This is not for the faint of heart. So I like all that. I like all the different special abilities on the cards, how the objectives have to be completed. They really play around with the Legendary system in interesting and innovative ways, and the different types of Predator cards that you have to deal with. I will say it again, I think I said this during my review of Legendary Alien, the coordinate cards are awesome. It is a concept that I love, that I wish would bleed over into the original Marvel Legendary, because it makes the game so cooperative, which sounds funny to say, but what I mean is you're not just all, let's all work together and get through the scenario. You're genuinely asking for people's help all the time and hoping that you'll be able to help them in return. You try to plan it out so that you each can get coordinate cards, that you'll always be ready to jump out and help someone when they need it, because first off, it helps you. You're like, well, I don't really need this card, so let me coordinate. You get your special ability. I get to draw a card to replace it. I'm not hurt at all. Fantastic. And also the fact that they now have the call for backup abilities, which lets you, which means you have to have a coordinate. Someone has to coordinate with you in order to use your ability, makes that even more critical. And I just love that entire concept. So kudos for them for having that. Also, the avatars and the roles are back from the original Legendary Alien, which, again, another thing I want to see in the original Marvel Legendary. Love that idea. I love that each character is a little more unique than the other characters. You have a special ability no one else has. It gives you a little bit of a focus in some cases, and I love that. So, again, cooperative mode, love it, love it, love it, fantastic. Really difficult, but if you know what you're getting into, it's fine. The Hunter mode is very interesting, and I liked it way more than I thought I would. It is probably the most confrontational deck builder I've ever played. Of course, that is by design. But I love that it is taking the Marvel Legendary system, and everyone complains about the semi-co-op nature of Marvel Legendary, and this just says, well, okay, let's just take off the co-op parts altogether and say that this is completely competitive, and they just run with it, and it works very, very well. I love the whole idea of dueling the other Predators. It is not as easy as you would make it seem, so player elimination is not as common as you would think, but it encourages you to do that and to get in that killing blow if you possibly can, because if someone's not that hurt, it's like you're not going to attack them. You'd rather go for prey and get the points that way. The idea of gearing up is fantastic. I love that. It's another interesting thematic element. The tests, the challenges, they really, really went out of their way to not just say, oh, here's another way to play with the same cards from the co-op mode. No, this is a whole other game. It is 2 games in one, and it really feels like they were both given a lot of thought. I still think I prefer the cooperative mode because I think it gives me the feeling of the movies better. We haven't seen a movie from the Predator's perspective. Not really. I mean, certain scenes of the movie are always from the Predator's perspective, but the feeling, the claustrophobic feeling of being hunted by something that both the Alien and the Predator games give me in the cooperative mode is still my favorite way to play, but I love the Hunter mode. It really, really works well. And again, the game looks fantastic. The theme is fantastic. Just like the original Legendary Alien, this is a hit. If you can get through the card sorting, if you can get through the steep difficulty of learning all the ins and outs in the game, if you're not familiar with Legendary, there is a learning curve to this game, just as far as figuring out all the different game modes and the options and the bells and whistles. It's really, really awesome. I can't wait to keep continuing to... From now on, I'm just mixing the 2 sets together. I don't even care. And eventually maybe even mixing in Marvel Legendary as well. The sky is the limit. And I can't wait to see what they do with the Legendary in general and the Encounters series in particular in the future. That is Legendary Encounters, a Predator deck building game. Highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.